Suburban Sentinel here, along with Bella the camera cat, with a prepping video that focuses on coffee. In the event of a major disruption or disaster, you want tangible items that have practical uses and/or have barter value. When selecting items for prepping, there are several criteria or characteristics that you want each item to satisfy to the best of your or its ability. First, the item should be an absolute necessity or something that is highly desirable. Second, the item should be easy to store. Third, the item should have a reasonably long shelf life and be roadable. And finally, the item should be relatively inexpensive. For ease of review, I'm going to put those 4 criteria back up on the screen. Coffee is one of my higher priority items on my prep list. Certainly, it's not nearly as important as beans, bullets, Band-Aids, and fresh water, but nonetheless, it is a priority. And let's go back and review through the criteria to see why. First item, necessary or highly desirable. Certainly, you do not need coffee to stay alive, but at least if you're an American, coffee is highly desirable. This country runs on coffee. Most of us, myself included, are essentially coffee addicts. Second criteria, ease of storage. Coffee is relatively lightweight and comes in, at least in this case, sealed metal cans. They can be stacked easily, stored easily. They're not too sensitive to temperature, and storing large quantities is not really that big a deal. Third criteria, long shelf life and roadable. Coffee meets that as well. Coffee beans or ground coffee will keep if it's sealed in reasonable condition for at least a couple of years. Also, it's roadable, so you can use some of your stock in everyday life and just replace the cans with fresher cans as you go. This is not our usual brand we use every day. We use a little bit of it here and there, but most of it will just give away over time, one way or another. And finally, the item should be relatively inexpensive. And that's where these cans happen to excel. A couple of times a year, the local grocer puts these on sale, ding and dents, for I think it's $1.50 or $2. And this guy over here, Costco's has these for these giant, I don't know how many pounds is in here. Looks like 3 pounds and change for $10. So I'll just get a bunch of these as they come available on sale. Is this the best coffee in the world? Not by a long shot. But as they say, any port in a storm. So if it's a choice between kind of mass market store-bought coffee grounds or nothing, this is starting to look pretty good. In my humble opinion, I think coffee is a very good item for preppers to have for bartering purposes. The supply of coffee is highly susceptible to disruption. The vast majority of coffee consumed in America is imported. In fact, the only state that grows coffee in any quantity is Hawaii. So if there's a transportation/distribution hang-up or hitch, coffee is going to be one of the first things to go off the shelf. Nobody in the continental United States is going to be growing coffee anytime soon. Again, we Americans are coffee addicts, and we all know what happens when there's a shortage of supply and very high demand. The value of even these so-so tins of coffee goes way up, if not in monetary terms, in barter terms. In addition, coffee can be used strategically. Now, what does that mean? I'll give you the real world example. I'm here in southern New England by the coast, and we got walloped by Hurricane Sandy last year. Before the hurricane hit, I probably had maybe 20 of these big cans and maybe half as many of these little guys sitting in the basement. Less than a day before the hurricane was due to make landfall, while everyone else was at the grocery store, I went over to a local commercial baker. This outfit makes muffins and donuts for the local restaurant trade. I went and found the manager and told him I wanted to buy some muffins and donuts, and they were in a state of complete chaos because of the impending storm and canceled orders. And the guy says, just give me $30 and load your car up with whatever you want as much as you want. I slipped a guy who was working on the loading dock $20 to give me a hand, and 10 minutes later, I was driving away with an SUV literally piled to the headliner with muffins and donuts. After the storm, lots and lots of trees were down, power lines all over the place, roads closed, and we were in that state for a good week, and about 10 days later, we got the power on. But during those 10 days, my wife and I gave away coffee and donuts every morning to the entire neighborhood. Besides just being the right thing to do, there was also some strategic value in essentially becoming an informal breakfast place in our driveway. First, although we've been here several years, we don't know our neighbors that well because we don't have very much in common with them. And that small act helped build a lot of goodwill. Second, every morning the power was out, people would congregate on our front lawn in our driveway for coffee and donuts. And that was great because all those eyes gave me a chance to turn my back. In situations like that, I don't want to get involved in any projects that are going to distract me too much. You never know if someone's going to come up behind you and hit you with a wrench or whatever to take advantage of your resources. So having those extra eyes around gave me the freedom to do certain things, not big things, but like changing the oil in the portable generator. Third, our informal little coffee club became a good place to exchange information. You know, it's this one's brother works at the power company and they know this, that, or the other thing, or someone else knows someone at Public Works. So we had a much better idea of where the town stood from a recovery standpoint based on being able to share information that would have otherwise been kept private. Finally, we were able to give all the cops and guys working to clear the streets and the electrical folks, hot coffee and donuts, because, they were working like dogs too, and they really appreciated it. And I'm sure it didn't hurt taking care of the local guys doing the real hard work to get this area back up and running. So if you're a prepper and you are similarly situated with the neighborhood and that type of thing, you may want to consider stocking up on some good old-fashioned coffee. This is the Suburban Sentinel. Thanks for watching. Please thumbs up and subscribe if you like what you see. Questions and enlightening comments are always welcome. Be safe, everybody.